Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
All right, fans, welcome back here. It's Joe the Fan from Just Win Bets, baby, here with a couple of guys, Shane O'Mac, and of course the GOAT, the UFL GOAT. We're going to be talking about UFC 317. All right, let's jump right into it. We'll start off with, of course, the main event.
And now, this is the moment UFC fans watching around the world have been waiting for.
We have, of course, Topuria at the record of 16-0, the undefeated champion right here, taking on Charles Oliveira. Current price is minus 500, courtesy of Bet ESPN Bets, and plus 350 for Charles Oliveira, who out of Brazil.
It's time!
What are your thoughts here, GOAT, on this match?
Well, this is a hell of a main event, and let me get it here. This one got me pumped up. So we got Charles Oliveira, super dangerous everywhere. This guy can beat you any which way. Very few holes in his game. I think if there's no Islam Makhachev, this guy's running the division right now. He's solid everywhere, but he has a new problem stepping into the division now, and that's Ilia Topuria coming up from featherweight. And this guy's run through everyone he's fought. He hits like a truck. I compare him to Ivan Drago, the way he's taking guys out of there. I think he's been really good his whole career, but people really started to take notice in London whenever what he did to Jai Herbert, knocking him out like that. And he's been running through guys ever since. Max Holloway's never been knocked him out. And what he did to Volkanovski, everyone thought that Volk was washed after that fight. And then you saw Volk come out recently and go against Diego Lopez and really, win and look really good. Like, he's not washed. Topuria is the real deal. This is definitely a dangerous fight for Topuria. I know the line doesn't say the same thing, but this is a really dangerous fight for him, especially if Oliveira gets on his back. He could be in some real trouble. But I think until I see otherwise, Topuria does the same thing to him. I'm taking him by knockout here.
Knockout from the GOAT. That's great there. Shano, what say you? But keep in mind, Shano, there is a height difference, a 3-inch height difference where Oliveira is 5'10", where Topuria is 5'7". He also has a reach where Charles Oliveira has, of course, that 74, 75-inch reach and very unorthodox style there. Does that change anything for your selection?
So Charles Oliveira is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, if not my favorite fighter in the UFC. He's a really good guy. He goes out there and puts entertaining fights on every single time he's on the card. If he's on the card, it's going to be a good fight. It's always entertaining with him, which is awesome. Not every fighter's like that. So I love Charles Oliveira. The problem is he's not winning this fight. And I have him losing by knockout. Another bet that I liked as well is the over-under for round fights at 1.5. I think it will go over the 1.5. I don't see him getting knocked out in the first round. I think he can get over. I think the second round does start, and he's probably going to get knocked out somewhere in rounds 2, 3, 4.
All right, let's move to our second title match, which is in the flyweight division, where we have, of course, the champion, Andrea Padoja, taking on Kara France. We'll start with you, Shano. Before we do that, let's look at the odds there. We have Kara France at plus 150, or excuse me, even money at plus 100, and Padoja at minus 235. What say you?
I like Pantoja here, the Cannibal. The Cannibal is his nickname. He's a beast. They fought each other. This is a rematch. They fought each other. I don't remember the exact time, but it had to be at least 6-7 years ago when they fought each other. But Pantoja's a beast, and I think I have him winning by submission here. Is what I'm putting down. The safer bet I have for him is I'm going to put a double chance submission and decision bet, which I think is at like minus 175-ish, depending on the book that you're getting it at. So I'm going to put probably a unit on that and then put up like a half unit on Pantoja by submission. That's my picks for this fight.
So, of course, Pantoja, they're very similar in age. One, of course, Pantoja being at 35, where Kara France is 32. Pretty much the same height there. Definitely the same weight when we saw the weigh-ins earlier. very similar style. What's your pick for this match?
Well, like Shano said, this is a rematch, but the first fight was on the Ultimate Fighter. So we're talking 2 rounds, 2 guys really earlier in their career. You really can't compare it to this one. Pantoja, since then, has really been unbelievable. You look at a guy, this guy has like almost no holes in his game either, especially on defense. Like, you're not going to land much on him. He's excellent counter striker. Takedown defense is great. A lot of people are actually starting to consider him the featherweight goat, the flyweight goat. Maybe surpassing, especially with a win here, he could surpass Mighty Mouse in that department. The smart money's definitely on Pantoja here. I think he can beat him any day of the week. I think that it's going to take someone who's going to have to take some chances against him, really pressure him, someone with nothing to lose, and I think any day of the week it's Pantoja, but not tomorrow night. I am taking Kai Care France. Cobra Kai never dies. It's his night. I think we might get a rematch, and I think Pantoja wins that easily, but I'm taking Kai Care France in this one. I got a feeling.
Let's move on to the next flyweight, which is another very close match here, guys, between the American Brandon Royval taking on Joshua Van. Currently, the price is at even money for the American, where it's minus 120 for Joshua Van. And this is something, like I said, based on the odds, it's very close. Somewhat similar in height, but Brandon, of course, has the advantage, about a 4 or 5 inch height advantage over Van. The weight being very similar. But my concern is, of course, not only the reach, but the style, where Brandon Royval was more of a southpaw to where Van is a little bit more unorthodox. So where are you leaning towards here, Goat, for this match?
Well, I think you can either love or hate the UFC matchmaking. And I personally am someone who loves it. I think this card is a great example of it. I think a lot of these matchups are toss-ups where anyone can win realistically. This is a really exciting fight. These guys stylistically are very similar. They're both going to throw high volume. I think it's going to be really exciting to watch. Joshua Van, at this point in his career, this is like the fight to give him. He's on the path to this fight to get into title contention. Big moment for him. But for Brandon Royval, this is just another day in the office. I'm taking him by decision and maybe even get a submission.
I was leaning towards that as well. Shano, does the age play a factor here? Of course, 32. The American's starting to get up there in age, where Van is a young buck, according to me. He was in his early 20s. So does that play a factor in your decision?
It does, but it goes against Van. So Van's a great young fighter. I think this is his first step into like the real competition in the UFC. He's got a couple good wins underneath his belt, but he hasn't fought like that top elite level talent yet. And that's where he's starting to get to when he's going against Royval here, right? So he's fighting a true pro, a guy that's bigger than him, and he's fighting on short notice. Van just fought at UFC 316. He fought less than a month ago. So that's a lot on your body to go from one fighting on one card and then turning around and fighting again 3 weeks later. It's a lot on your body in the fight game. So I'm going to go against him here in this one.
You mentioned, of course, him fighting in 316. There's another fighter that also fought in 316, which is our next fight, which is again in the lightweight division, which is, of course, I'm referring to the Brazilian Renato Macano, taking on Benil Dariush. Both at the same odds at minus 110. This can go either way. So this is another match. There's another fight that can just go either way here. What say you? Where are you leaning here? Again, look at the height. Before I turn to you, look at the height here. I mean, they're pretty much at the same level. These guys are pretty much equally matched. Weight, age, they're getting up there. They're in their mid 30s, about 5'10", 5'11", and their reach is exactly the same. So it's like clone versus clone,
Yeah, Goat said this earlier, like how much a lot of these fights on this card, it can go either way. This is the one I have a trouble picking, right, honestly. I think the best bet for me in this fight is I think it'll go to distance. That's what I'm putting my money on, is for this fight to go to distance. I don't see either one of them knocking one of them out, but I'm going to pick, that's my bet. If I had to pick one between the two, give me Dariush there to win if I had to pick one, but I think I'm going to stay away the money line fight on this one.
Well, fight that goes the distance at plus 105, courtesy of ESPN Bet Sportsbook. But do you see something totally different from Shano there, Goat, where it could be by a knockout, TK, or DQ? They're all plus money at 425, 450. What say you?
Yeah, these guys can definitely knock each other out. I also wouldn't be surprised to see this one go the distance, though. This is the fight I'm probably least excited about on this main card, but that says a lot because this is still a really good fight. Both these guys are at the same point in their career. They're both 36. They're both coming off to a loss to elite competition. Moicano just lost to Makhachev on short notice, so can't really take that into account too much. Dariush lost to Arman Saryukin. Both are coming off of losses to elite talent. I think this one could really go either way, but this is a make or break fight for both of their careers. The winner could really maybe find themselves in the title contention mix, where they're one fight away. The loser is probably going to fall out of the rankings or fall way down the board. This one's really tough to call. This is one that I personally didn't bet on because I think it's close and it's hard to judge. Dariush had a lot of power, and he was a guy who was like this close to getting a title shot and never got it. And I think he might have just missed his moment. He lost to elite talent recently, but he looked like he didn't look good in those fights. He looks kind of old, whereas Moicano doesn't look his age. I'm just going to take Moicano by decision to outpace him in this one.
So we hit the last fight in the main card of UFC 317. I'm here with the GOAT and, of course, Shane O'Mac. GOAT, we'll go with you with a bantamweight, the last fight on the main event card between the American Peyton Talbot taking on Felipe Lima, both with one losses in their careers, but very similar in age. The reach is somewhat similar, maybe an inch or two off here and there. But I like the way that Talbot does fight. He tends to do a little bit more of a switch compared to the unorthodox style of Lima. So where are you leaning towards this on this last match?
Okay, so these are two of the top prospects in the game, definitely in the division. A lot of people are low on Talbot now because he's coming off of a loss where he got dominated. But you have to remember, he was going against Ronnie Barcelos, who is a veteran who's been around. I think he has 20 wins on his record. Elite grappler, which is a nightmare matchup for him. I know that Lima came out and got a submission victory in his first fight in the UFC. A lot of people, he is probably a better grappler than Talbot, but he's not necessarily a grappler. Whenever you watch his tape, he's a striker. And if you're going to go striker versus striker, I'm taking the guy with the reach, the guy with all the knockout power in the world. Talbot reminds me a lot of Sean O'Malley. I think that's the path that he's on. Not a popular pick. Everyone that I've seen is taking Lima, loving Lima in this one. But you know what? I'd personally be shocked if Talbot doesn't get the win. And I actually have him by knockout in this one.
Ooh. Well, just for him to win is at plus 150, but Shano, the GOAT's going by knockout for Talbot. That's paying at plus 275, courtesy of ESPN Bet Sportsbook. So we turn it to you, my friend. Where do you see this match going in the bantamweight division?
I literally have the same write-up that he had right here. I think they're both strikers here, and I think Talbot's the better striker. So if I have the better striker at an underdog price, I'm going to take him and take my chase my odds with that. Because I think he's at just straight money lines like at plus 140-ish, right? Something like that.
No, plus 150.
Plus 150. Okay, yeah. So plus 150. Yep. So I'm gonna take the underdog there at plus 150 because I think they have similar styles, similar matchups, and I think Talbot's the better striker and a slightly larger frame. So I'm gonna take him for the win.
So what's very interesting in this last match there, Shano, is of course the fight going the distance. It's off the market, so there's no market on that right now. But I do like where the GOAT's going here with the knockout plus 275. Maybe put a little pizza on that. But yeah, I think the strong play is going to Talbot, the American.
Yeah, and one of the things that whenever you watch Lima's film, he's really aggressive. He rushes in there. He throws those flying knees, and we saw what happened to Cameron Simon whenever you try to rush in on Talbot. He found himself knocked out cold. I think this is still a really fun fight. I just because this is like one of the ones where I'm picking a guy by knockout, but I'm still not going to be that surprised if the other guy wins. But I am taking the knockout. I think the money's there. I think that's a great pick to make.
You know, they have something here on this fight before we go. They have plus 1,300 submission by Talbot over Lima. Again, maybe a half unit.
I wouldn't do that. He's more of a striker. So I mean, it's not saying that can't happen, but I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be a knockout. The only way I could see it happening is like if he catches him, he's stumbling, and then he like leans forward, he puts him in like some sort of head choke, like leaning forward or something like that. Then I could see a submission happening. But outside of that, I would either just go straight money line or do the knockout like Goat said.
All right, so let's recap. We'll go with you, Shano, from the title match. Could you recap what your picks were?
So the title match, I have over 1.5 rounds. That's the over under for that fight. So going over 1.5 rounds, but Topuria is still winning by knockout. I think Goat had something similar. Goat, what'd you have for that one?
Yeah. I think that Topuria is going to get the knockout. Charles Oliveira has one hole in his game, and it's his chin. And it's a bad matchup for him. Now, the one thing I will say is that Topuria is moving up in weight, and sometimes you might think they're adding some muscle or whatever, but we've seen guys that power not translate whenever they move up. I know with Figueiredo and people like that. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. But like I said, until proven otherwise, I'm taking Topuria by knockout. And the other thing I was looking at, I think by knockout, I think it's like minus 170 for Topuria by knockout. Like they're not paying out for anything on him.
Yeah, it actually moved up or moved down in the way that the betting world works. It's at minus 190 now for a knockout, TKO, or DQ.
Ooh. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was 175 when last I looked at it. So it's definitely it's moving that way for everybody. Looks like everybody's seen that way. Maybe we could pick a round. What round do you think will happen in?
I agree that it'd probably be round 2, or it's not going to be round 1. I don't think. But Topuria really pieces people up.
He does.
This is interesting. Yeah. I considered gone in 60 seconds on this one, but that almost never hits. Stay away from that one. Sometimes the refs let guys hang in there for longer just to avoid that.
I got too much respect for Charles Oliveira for that, man. He's a good fighter. He's a hell of a fighter. Yeah. I think he can stay it off one round. That's the way I see it. He's a hell of a fighter. This is a terrible matchup for him. That's all it is.
So the second match that we talked about was again in the flyweight, the title division, of course, or title fight here between Pantoja and Carl France. Goat, where were you leaning again? Just as a recap, what was your
well? Realistically, I'm leaning towards Pantoja, but I'm taking Kai Kara France. I got, if you want to do a $10 parlay or something like that, throw Kai Kara France on there. I think he has a chance. He has a lot of power. He can land something. Like I said, he has nothing to lose. So I think it might be his night. That's what I'm going with. That's my pick anyhow.
Kara France at plus 190 at money line there. Shano, what was your pick?
Pantoja by submission. That's my pick. Pantoja by submission.
Paying 2-1 there, Shano. That's a little juicy. I like that. The third one was against Royval and Van. So Shano, again, a recap.
I'm going Royval here. I think I said I think Van's a great young fighter, but this is like his first true test in like the high quality UFC fighters. So I'm gonna take Royval here. And Van just fought less than a month ago, so I think that might work against him here in this fight.
Yeah, it's even money, but it's moving like like the stock market the other day. Let's go with the GOAT. Where do you have that on where are you leaning for this match?
Yeah, I think this one might go to decision. Both of these guys are high volume strikers. I think they're just gonna try to outpoint one another. I think Royval has a big advantage there.
Yeah, to go to the distance is minus 200. So let's see here. Our lightweight, the last two matches, the lightweight. Chino, what were you leaning for this one? And remember where they were both, it was pretty much even all the way across.
Darius fight, yeah. Like I said, I'm staying away from picking a winner in that one. I'm just going to pick the fight to go to distance, which is I think currently at like plus 110, 105,
Yep. Plus
somewhere around
105.
that range. Yeah.
And again, that's
So,
moving quick too.
yeah. So when I looked earlier today, when I was doing my write up, it was at plus 110. So it's already at plus 105. So it looks like it's moving that way. So yeah, fight to go to distance is my pick for that fight.
Goat.
Yeah. This is a toss-up matchup, but I think Darius might be washed up. So I'm just gonna take Moicano to win by decision.
At minus 110 on there. We'll end up with you, Goat, there with Talbot and Lima. You were leaning towards.
Well, Talbot by knockout. And like I said, let me get this out again. This one pumps me up too. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. But we got to go big here. We got to go bold. I'm not just taking him by the win. I'm taking him by knockout. Just win bets, baby.
Plus 275 on the knockout there, Shano.
Woo! I love it.
Where'd you lean here?
I'm not as bold as him. I'm just going Talbot by money line. He's still the underdog, which I think is around plus 150-ish on most books right now. So I'm taking him just straight money line, Talbot by money line. I think he's the better striker in a matchup where they're both two strikers facing each other. I think he's the better striker who's going to win it outright.
Well, that wraps up our UFC 317.
I have one.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
fight. If you want one prelim fight that you might want looking at here.
All right.
Hyder Emil. He's an underdog. He's fighting Jose Delgado. Hyder Emil is a beast. He's won 3 underdog fights in his career. He's been an underdog 3 times and won. Something to look forward to if you're looking for some prelim action. I think currently he's at like plus 125-ish on some books. That's my one prelim fight if you want to get on some early action.
Yeah, it's currently still at 135. It hasn't moved yet, but you definitely want to get the best number there. But it's the gentleman from the Philippines taking on the American Delgado. The undefeated Philippine fighter there. I like that. Did you have, of course, another fight did you want to talk about real quick?
Yeah, as far as the prelims, I think that Gregory Rodriguez is a lock to beat Hermanson. I mean, there's always the chance that Hermanson slips a submission or something, but this is just such a mismatch for Hermanson. I'm taking Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, easily in this one.
Currently at minus 235, the Brazilian. Were you thinking maybe a knockout here for Rodriguez?
I just don't think that there's anything Hermanson can do to him. Hermanson's a submission specialist, and Gregory Rodriguez is amazing on the ground. I think it's definitely capable of knocking him out, but I just don't see Hermanson having a chance in this fight at all.
Well, you definitely want to add that to your parlay, where it's currently at minus 235 for Rodriguez to win, and that's the preliminary fight. And that also wraps up our UFC 317 talk here. So again, folks, thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to hit that comment. Tell us what's your best bet. Leave that in the comment below. Hit that notification button that tells you when our new videos will come out. So for Shano Mac and the GOAT, don't forget to, again, hit that subscribe button, and we will definitely catch you next time. See you later.